Hi, my name is Rod Khleif, and I'm the host of the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. And every week I interview multifamily rock stars, and we talk about how they've built incredible wealth for themselves and their families through multifamily properties. So hit the like and subscribe buttons to get notified every Monday when a new episode comes out. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Multifamily Rockstars. So as you know, this is where we interview people that are crushing it in this business. And this is the show where we show you the inside scoop into how multifamily investors are creating massive success in their businesses and in their lives. And as always, I've got my co-host, Mark Nagy, who's the director of our massive action team for the Warrior Mentorship Group. Mark, what's happening, brother? What's got you excited?
Hey, Rod. Everything's good.
Nice. Well, we've got an awesome guy on the show today. His name's Larry Murray. And what's awesome about him, he's the founder of Ivory Wolf Properties. So that's how he branded himself. He's a warrior. But what I love about Larry is he's a decorated captain with the Montgomery County Fire Department in Maryland, where he's at. He's a licensed home inspector, but really the big thing is he's a former Marine, former member of the Air National Guard, and which to me is just about as good as you can get in my book. He's a general partner and limited partner in over 250 doors. He's general partner in two assets, two properties. And just excited to have him on the show. Larry, welcome, brother.
Thank you, Rod. Thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure to be here. It's pretty exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I know you joined the Warrior program about a year ago, and so it's really kind of full circle in a way to have you on. And why don't you take a minute and talk a little bit about your journey? And obviously the focus would be on the real estate side of your journey, but just talk a little bit about who you are and how you got here, and let's just take it from there, and then we'll ask questions.
Right. So obviously I've been with fire rescue for many, many years now. 31 as a career, 39 total between military and volunteer. And it's like, need to do something else. So what can we do? We're looking around, and about 4 years ago, 2018, my wife and I decided we wanted to look into something, and we found, hey, real estate might be the thing to do. So we started looking at single family houses. Long story short, we flew to Alabama, checked out some property we found online, and ran into a war zone. Literally, it was boarded up and burned out and crushed windows. And it's like, wow, this is kind of crazy. So it changed our plan slightly, ended up putting in some offers. Cash buyers beat us. It's like, we need to do something different. While we were down there on that journey, we ended up meeting up with some people and ended up getting into what they call the insurance banking concept. And through that, was able to save some money. So fast forward to here 4 years later, it's like, okay, time to do it again. So we had a single family we were looking at, and through the company we did that insurance banking with, we actually heard some podcasts. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts from that point on, and that's where I came across your group, Rod. And I'm like, this looked kind of interesting. So listened some more, started checking some things out, and then I had a decision to make. Do we get into the Warrior program? Well, first of all, I went to the boot camp, and then
Which one?
We went to it was the online boot camp in October.
Okay, gotcha.
Online boot camp in October. And then and then we had this other property we had been working on right before that. So it's like, do we buy the single family and make some cash flow there, or do we scale up? Well, we decided to invest in ourselves. After the boot camp, incredibly motivated. It's like, man, we can make this work. I know we can make it work. Let's see what we can do. Well, I had no idea how much value that the Warrior program was gonna add, and how it was gonna take off like it has. It has just been an incredible journey from like I said, well, once we did that boot camp, we started making calls, started taking action, just like you said. That was, I guess it was in November. It was November 10th, the Marine Corps birthday, as a matter of fact, that I joined the Warrior program. Hoorah. So from that point, it was looking at a LoopNet, trying to figure everything out, and moving forward. So that's where we are. Like I said, fast forward, and we had saved up the money, and it's like, here we are. We joined your camp. We got into this thing, and then now we started learning how to underwrite, started trying to figure everything out. Finally, I ran into a property that just penciled. Everything wasn't penciling. All of a sudden, someone clicked. This is off of LoopNet. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. So I ran the numbers, and I'm like, this might work. So I called another warrior, and he ran the numbers like, this might work. So it's like, what are we going to do here? Okay, let's try and get it sponsored. So We went, made a phone call, and the first, it was actually a warrior called, and they looked at it, said, not bad, but not too keen on the area, and it's a little thin. Apparently, they brought in several warriors when they came in as the sponsor. So it's like, okay, well, we appreciate the opportunity. So we were kind of a little deflated, but then it's like, wait a minute, I'm not giving up. I'm going to move forward. Picked up the phone, called another sponsor. So we ended up getting somebody else that said, hey, yeah, once again, another warrior. So I ended up getting that sponsored. And then it's like, okay, well, let
me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you 1 second. I apologize.
Sure.
There may be some people listening who don't know what a sponsor is. So let me describe what that means.
Sure.
So what that means is, to get Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac debt, very often they require experience. Now, Freddie Mac, you could use a third-party property management company and sometimes satisfy that requirement, but otherwise you need what you call the Fannie card. You need to have some experience. And you also need to satisfy the net worth requirement, which is net worth equal to the loan amount, and liquidity requirement, which is liquidity equal to 10% of the loan amount post-closing. And so, what almost everybody does is they find a sponsor, usually in the warrior program, it's another warrior, to help them take down that deal. And then the other thing with a sponsor, the beautiful thing about that process is, if you're going to a broker or a seller and you've not done anything, you don't have any credibility. But if you find someone that's done something already, like a warrior that sponsored it, you can say, we have 300 doors, or we have 500, or whatever, and you can use their resume for credibility. So anyway, I just want to interject that. So you found another, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to, in case people were wondering. So you found another warrior that took another look at it. Please continue from there.
Right. Yeah, so then it was time to put an LOI. Well, I had no idea what an LOI was, so I had to ask them what it was. I got they sent me some stuff. I actually called somebody else, the first one, and said, "Hey, can you send me a copy of an LOI?" And ended up we made our hybrid.
All right, now I got to interrupt you again, because you're going to throw stuff out there. People have no idea what you're talking about, so I got to interrupt again. So, guys, an LOI is a letter of intent, and let me tell you why it's important. So, maybe you've done single family, you've flipped houses, you wholesaled houses, you've written your own contracts. Well, you will never do that in commercial real estate. Okay, I could write a contract. I've done it so many times. I've written thousands, literally thousands, but I would never do it on a commercial multifamily, larger multifamily. You always use an attorney. Now, are attorneys free? No, they cost money. So you start with a letter of intent, and that's the abbreviation is LOI. And what that does is it starts the conversation with a seller. You lay out all the main points in a deal: the purchase price, when you're going to close, the due diligence time, all those things, financing, who's going to pay for what, and then that goes to the attorney to negotiate the PSA, the purchase and sale agreement. Okay, so that's the LOI. Sorry, buddy. Please continue.
No, that's great. That's great. I had to look back in your training material to find out what an LOI was. Like I said, and asked, and I got copies, built it. So we put this LOI in. There was 14 different people, or I'm sorry, 12 different people bidding for the same property. And backing up just slightly, when I found the property, I called the broker the very same day. I was on LoopNet every single day, looking at everything. I could tell you anything in our market areas that hit the net within 24 hours. I mean, anything that hit. This particular property hit. I called the broker that day. I had a call that night. I actually had to walk out of a room and where I was working and take the phone call real quick. Got that relationship going with the broker. So that was incredibly important right there, because that carried us. Once I got the LOI in, we were able to get a little bit of price guidance from him and helped us move forward with this. I told him, I'm new. I'm still trying to learn this fun stuff. I said, we've got a big network that we've joined here, and they're incredible people. And, we hope to do business. Next thing you know, we moved forward and we got the LOI. Well, let me back up. There was 12.
I need to interrupt you again. I'm price guidance. So what he means by that is very often a broker will give you a deal and they're not going to tell you what they want for it. Okay. And so you need to communicate with them and get a feel. And that's called price guidance. And, you can back into it and make an offer, obviously. But in this hot market, what will happen is the broker will say, okay, we'll make the offers. Everybody submits their offers. And then they'll do what's called best and final. Okay. Where they'll pick like the top 3 to 5 and say, give us your best price. It's really like an auction process. It's not a lot of fun because the brokers do it to try to obviously raise as much money as they can for their sellers. And it's not always done this way, guys. I'm just going to tell you, in a normal environment that's not as hot as it is now, you are not going to find it being treated this way all the time. You typically it's not done that way in a normal marketplace, but right now this is how it's being done. So that's price guidance. Sorry, bud. I just don't want people to eyes to cross and as they're listening to you. So please continue.
No, that's great, because when they go for it, they'll know what an LOI is, know what price guidance is all about. And now you've already mentioned best and final, which is where I was going at, because it went to best and final, and I had no idea what that even meant. So there were 6 of us then for best and final. We had to sharpen our pencils a little bit. We talked to him again for additional price guidance. Once again, that relationship with the broker was incredible, because he really helped guide us in the right direction there. And in the end, they ended up accepting our letter of intent. So we were able to move forward, and then it was time to write the purchase and sales agreement, the PSA. In that case, the seller actually wanted to write it himself, ended up not getting done. Well, we already had an attorney on board. We actually ended up using him in the end, because the PSA didn't get written. So then basically the broker called back and said, hey, can you go and do this, because this guy can't seem to get it done. So we had to do our own PSA. So we got that taken care of, and went through, and then the whole due diligence process occurred. We flew down to the property, looked at some things, found some stuff that we didn't initially see. So we don't like to retrade. That's not one thing that we like to do, but this was a retaining wall, and we had to do something with it, and they were able to work with us as a seller credit at the end. And then there was a lot that went on as far as the financing. Ended up going with a Freddie Mac loan. They gave us some terms initially when we went for when we went to the best and final. We actually contacted them and got an idea of what kind of terms we could get. Well, long story short, there is they ended up changing the terms on us at the end. So this has been a lot of up and down with this, but in the end, we ended up finally closing this 54 unit. That was the first deal that I'd ever done.
Congratulations.
This was a team. This was not me. This was a team of, like I said, another warrior out of Nashville, and then we had a couple other warriors out of California. And by that team coming together, that's what has allowed us to make this happen. So no way I could have physically done this alone. I mean, that single family, I'm so glad I didn't mess with that. And this warrior program gave me the opportunity to literally reach out and ask the questions to people of what is an LOI? Well, what is the best and final? Well, where do I get this information? Well, what do we have to do to close here? How do we do this Fannie Mae thing? And they actually gave us references, because the one warrior was actually is in the same market, and was able to give us some guidance as to who we can contact as far as a mortgage broker. So it's been incredible with that.
Can you share the approximate price on that thing, or do you need to keep that on the deal?
No, it's like 1.8 million, 1.824 million.
Good deal. Good
so,
deal.
I mean, yeah, I didn't have that kind of money laying around. I was like, how am I going to write a?
No, that's a good deal, though. I mean, that's a great price. I thought you were going to be in several millions, so that's a great deal. Okay.
Well,
all right.
To
awesome.
give people some context there as well, Larry literally went from 0 doors to 54 doors on your first deal. That's always one of the biggest things, right? People think, oh, I got to start with 5 units, 10 units, 20 units. Obviously, your team helped you build the confidence to get in there and go bigger on your first deal. What were some of those qualities or things that you were looking for in your team here? How did you go about putting that team together for this deal?
So the gentleman that I actually spoke with is Nick Langford. He's out of Nashville, and he's incredible at underwriting. And that's why I took the numbers to him, and he helped underwrite them as well. And in that process, I was looking at moving. You talk about the different markets you were looking at. This particular property is in Little Rock, where I was a firefighter in Little Rock for 11 years before I came here. I was in the military in Little Rock. I was in the Air National Guard. I sold fire equipment. I taught for the State Academy. So I know Arkansas very well. My parents still live down there. So that was the one area. And then we're looking, another area would be a place you're looking to move. But we're looking to move to Nashville. So that's how I ended up meeting Nick in the Warrior program. He got in a week before I did. And in that process, we actually got on a call and we went through Rod's questions about partnering. And that was great. We're very aligned, very in tune with each other, and our goals are very similar in nature. So it just worked out good. So we tend to team up, if we find things. He's doing his thing, I'm doing my thing. But if we find stuff that's in common areas, we're trying to work together. So we're the two common ones, and then from there, different sponsors and the different deals that we've actually entailed. So I guess to answer your question, Mark, is using Rod's questions, to be honest with you. But you also need to do that with everybody. You got to do it with the sponsors. You got to do it with each other, and this isn't just a 1 or 2 person thing. This is, when you're dealing something like that, that was a syndication for that particular deal versus another one that we've done that we just closed in September, another 17 unit. And that one was a joint venture where he and I also teamed up, and then we have a different person that partnered up with us on that one.
Beautiful. Listen, guys, what he's talking about is something I actually give away for free. It's questions to ask when forming a partnership. And gosh, I hope I don't screw this up. I believe what you do is you text the word partnership to 72345, and we'll get that to you. If that's not it, just DM me on any social channel. I'll make sure you get it. But the one thing I wanted to mention, circle back to, is something you said. You talked about, buying Little Rock, where you spent a lot of time. You sold stuff there. You were in the military or something there. Paraphrasing here, but you spent some time there. So one of the things that I teach is the 4 markets to consider first before buying a property. And you said it. I mean, you basically followed. You just basically followed what I told you, and it worked. And that's exactly. I love it when somebody actually does what I suggest. And so the 4 markets to consider first are: 1, your backyard. Okay, that's a 2-hour drive anywhere in any direction because you can day manage. But the second is somewhere you spent some time, grew up, worked, and in your case, that's Little Rock, right? So that's option 2. Option 3 is somewhere you've got boots on the ground, which is what the other warrior was using you for, because you were boots on the ground there. You knew it, you knew the area, whatnot. And then the 4th area is somewhere you might want to retire or would end up living in. For you now, it's Nashville. So, it's just so awesome to hear you, doing what I suggested, because, it's a proven formula. And then, by the way, guys, if you have any interest in the warrior program, text the word crush to 72345. Again, so we can help you crush it in this business. So there's an application process. We don't take everybody, but if you're interested, text crush to 72345, and let's see if it's a fit, like it absolutely was for Larry here. So now I want to ask a question instead of just pontificate. So did you have any setbacks on this journey? Did you have any hiccups? You talked about the financing. So the financing changed right before closing. What was the impact of that, and how did you deal with it?
Pretty significant. First, I was trying to actually do this without the first deal because, like I said, we'd saved some money up, so we knew we had some. But they say that you can go ahead and do this without putting money in. The bank actually said, if you're going to be part of the GP team, we need you to have some skin in the game. So we actually had to put some money in, and that was the bank that required that. So that was not anticipated. As far as doing that, I actually pulled that out of my Infinity Bank. That's where I pulled the money out and was able to put that in. And so that was a little bit of a setback for me because I'm kind of got some of my capital deployed now that I want to use for a couple other deals I'm looking at. But that's where I am. As far as what they did is, as initially we're supposed to be able to get 80% leverage, and they ended up bumping that down to 70%. We finally got that back to 75, but then we also had 2 years of interest only, and they took both those 2 years of interest only apart because we didn't physically live in the state, and we were kind of new to their market as far as they were concerned, to that market, since we didn't have somebody physically living in the state. So those are pretty significant as far as what it did with our returns. However, because the underwriting, how well it was done, actually we weathered that storm. So
that's huge. That's huge, because a lot of deals would have died with what you just said, especially, because that, guys, interest only absolutely increases your returns. And so, that coupled with, what was the other thing you said? Oh, the loan to value, of course, that's going to require you to put more money in, which again negatively impacts the return because there's more cash that requires a return on it. And so, both those things can derail a deal. And yeah, that's a fairly recent thing where some banks will require a GP in a deal to show their own personal money in from their bank account. Now, the way we do deals, and have done, millions and millions and millions, is you bring people into the general partnership that have money, and you give them a piece of the general partnership to be a KP, key principal, sign on the debt, and put some of their own money in, so that the GP, as it were, has a portion of the deal and a portion of the money in the deal, the cash in the deal. But yeah, that's a recent thing that's happened on the requiring, because things are tightening up. I mean, guys, you've heard me talk about this. The market, at some point, this thing's gonna contract. And is it something to fear? No, it's something to get excited about, frankly, because there will be exponential opportunities. But that's why I teach my students to be very, very conservative right now, not be aggressive, and really, take their time and not push the envelope, because at some point this thing's going to contract, and there will be, like I said, there'll be incredible opportunity, and when that happens, cash is king. And so, for me personally, I'm getting in a lot of cash, but not just your own cash. Pre-frame your investors so that they're not fearful when that happens, and talk to them and say, listen, when that happens and the media is saying real estate's going to be terrible for 10 years, of course, I hope you're not listening to anything they say anyway, but definitely don't be listening then, because when that happens and things are really ugly is when you want to buy. And so, very important there. But Mark, go ahead and ask a question.
Yeah, well, I know you touched on a couple things there, Larry, in terms of what you do, making phone calls, checking LoopNet, but how do you decide what to do each day, each week for your business? And what's your thought process for those action steps that you take?
So I guess the big thing is, what do I have on my radar? If for some reason there's some property on my radar, it gets into a lot of area analyzing, calling the police department. We've had a few deals dropped in our doorstep that was, I think in Houston, we had 1,075 doors that ended up being over 5 properties over 2 different areas, but we had to figure all that out. But when we called the police department, they weren't in a real good area. So when we looked online, it was like, maybe this will work. But then when you actually get down and do it. So I guess when I have something on my radar, it's more toward the due diligence. It's more focusing on that deal. If I don't have something, in the hopper, then I'm looking at trying to find something to put in the hopper. Always trying to educate myself. So I don't listen to radio anymore. I listen to podcasts going to and from work. That's all I do is listen to them back and forth. There's a few that I try and listen to, and it's almost overwhelming, just the amount, but just continuing trying to educate myself and move forward. What's the next step? I got to start learning how to raise money. That is not my superpower by any means, but I can definitely put a team together anywhere in the United States. If I find the right deal, that is one thing that I can do, is I can pick up the phone, make some calls, call some warriors. To be honest with you, when you call the warriors, they can, especially find out the ones that are in those areas, you can use them to help put the team together. Meanwhile, you got the brokers you can call some banks. You can actually get references from the banks or certain mortgage brokers, which is in Little Rock. That's what we ended up doing. Our mortgage broker there had really, really good contacts that he was able to put us in touch with. And then when you start dealing with the different contractors, they'll give you different references, and it just snowballs. I will invest anywhere if there's a deal. It doesn't matter. I mean, I know we got the 4 areas that we focus, but if I'm not hitting and I see something that just happens, pencil, like I said, when I'm looking at things and all of a sudden they're hitting the net, I'm like, this pencils, I'll put a team together wherever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing is there are warriors pretty much everywhere at this point.
Yeah.
I want to point something out for those of you listening on iTunes that can't see this. Now, those on YouTube are going to see this, but behind Larry, he's got his vision board on the wall. He's got his hats from his military and other service that he's doing and military picture. He's also got our sword right there leaning against the wall. So we have, when you get your first deal as a warrior, we have what's called the Warrior of the Sword. And you get this awesome freaking sword in the mail from us. And he's got it right there behind him. And so he's got his workspace set up for freaking success. And that is such an important piece of this. And you're obviously a leader. I'm going to ask you a question. What are some characteristics that you believe every leader should possess, Larry?
You have to believe in your people. When I'm at the firehouse, those are the guys that work for me are my most valuable resource. And you have to treat them right. If you treat people right, the people are going to treat you right. And if you want to really lead, then you have to understand that you're leading people. And in doing that, take the time to listen to them, take the time to mentor them, truly be engaged. I mean, because like I said, I can have a $200,000 rig that I'm riding down the road, but it's not worth anything if I don't have the people. This in this business, I think that's one of the things that really draws me to it is that there's just so many people. And, there's a time to lead and there's a time to follow. So, when I get out on the fire ground, I may be leading a burning down building. I may be following the chief, whatever the case may be. But as a leader, you got to remember your place, remember your people, remember where you came from. And don't be afraid to step up. If you're a leader and you see that the time is necessary, step up, make it happen. You see a deal that's sitting there maybe, or, somebody needs some help, step up and help them. I had a warrior that called me today and was asking me about an area that somewhere I'd actually been. I was able to give them some guidance, and it's just a matter of, help each other out.
Yeah. I want to interject one thing here, and that is, that's one of the things we look for when we evaluate a potential warrior. If I get any hint of ego or narcissism, they're not getting in. And that's, we've created this group that all wants to help each other, as evidenced by what Larry just said. They're all givers, and it's just an extraordinary thing, which is why and at this point, I feel like almost a steward of the group to protect it as much as help it grow and help the people in it grow. So, I'm really glad you said that.
Well, Larry, you talked about team. You mentioned superpower there for a second. Firstly, would it be safe to say that you're taking on a little bit of the role of deal finder on a team? Is that what you think your main role might be right now, or your superpower?
I think that's where, I tend to focus on trying to find the deals, because if I can find it, then it's a matter, like I said, putting together a team. I can do some basic underwriting. I actually joined Lauren Jacobs's underwriting group and helped learn some stuff in that process. Mm-hmm. Once again, another warrior.
That's, by the way, let me interject. So we have lots of little subgroups in the warrior group. There's underwriting groups, there's little mini masterminds, there's accountability groups, there's all these subgroups. And so that's what he was talking about. Sorry, Larry, I interrupted. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So that would be probably more where I tend to focus. If you can find the deals, that's one of the hardest things right now, to be honest with you, trying to find the deal. And you just literally have to keep staying after it, because it's tough at the moment, but they're out there. Like the deal that was found this morning. He's been looking and finally found something. It's like we talked and discussed the area and discussed what to do next. I told him a couple of steps to do, and he's working on that right now. And I wished him luck, and hopefully he's going to get that. I told him if he needs any help, give me a call. But yes.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, I get that question a lot from potential students: is how can I add value to a team? I have no experience. What's my superpower? I don't know. How did you figure out that your superpower was finding deals? And how did you figure out that was going to be your role?
I just started doing everything in Rod's class. I was going through his material, but I was already looking at it. And like I said, when I got to the LOI, I had no idea what it was, let alone how to do it. So you have to do it while you're doing the class. The analysis paralysis, hear people talking about all that. You just got to get after it. And as I'm getting after it, like I said, I started analyzing deal after deal after deal. And all of a sudden this one it was something different. It made sense all of a sudden. Yeah. So, and then I did that. And then I just kept doing the same process as far as trying to find different things. And, all of a sudden here I am.
Massive freaking action, brother. That's it. Well, listen, thank you for coming on the show, buddy. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you. This is a real treat. And you absolutely just took it and ran with it. And it's so rewarding to see that for me. This is what I live for, to see this with you. And so I'm grateful for you and grateful for that. So anyway, it's great to see you, brother. Guys, take care, and we'll talk soon. So one other quick thing. We encounter so many people that are frankly frustrated. They're looking in the mirror and they're frustrated that they haven't been able to escape the rat race. They haven't been able to build cash flow to the point where they're able to have financial and time freedom with their families. And maybe they see other people buying real estate and creating, incredible cash flow. And they think, well, it's just scary. Buying apartments is intimidating. And I get it. But see, that's why we created our Warrior Mentorship Program. They're our coaching students, and they've had extraordinary results. My students, I've been teaching about 5 years, and they own upwards of 140,000 units now that we know of, right? And we feel like it's just getting going. Now we're looking to grow this group and really take it to the next level. And honestly believe that the greatest transfer of wealth could be upon us right now with this current economic environment. Everything's going on sale.
So we're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework, really like a blueprint or a map, literally step by step. And then they're able to leverage our systems and our incredible network to raise money and equity, to find deals and close those deals and build partnerships, really nationwide. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more in our incredible network and take advantage of the unbelievable opportunities that are upon us, you can apply to my Warrior Mentorship Program by texting the word CRUSH to 72345, or you can go to mentorwithrod.com. And what we'll do is we'll set up a call so you can check us out and we can check you out and see if it's a fit. Now, again, you can go to mentorwithrod.com or text the word CRUSH to 72345 to apply, and we will speak soon.